Chapter 1. The Break Announcement. While the rest of the world was snoring, sneezing, and wheezing after digesting fried chicken and kimchi, 7 striking, still energetic young men gathered in the conference room of Stellar Entertainment's headquarters, most fighting to stay awake after their pre-dawn schedule. John, the worldwide handsome, stifled a yawn behind his hand, his perfectly styled black hair somehow immaculate despite the 14-hour day. Beside him, Silas's eyes stayed fixed on his Galaxy phone as his fingers flew over a music production app even during the meeting. The other 5 dropped to the floor and disappeared into dreamland in an instant. Sweat and body heat filled the air. That peaceful moment was interrupted as Director Blake entered with a wide stride, like a man whose time was worth millions, followed by Manager Kando juggling an armful of tablets and coffee. Both waited for their presence to be noticed. The 7 members of Crown 7C7, the most famous boy band in the world, sprang to their feet, ready not to miss a single word. C7, Director Blake began without preamble, "You have had a remarkable year." Julian, ever the optimist, broke into a wide smile. "Thank you, sir. The world tour was fun." Others hurriedly nodded and smiled, thanking the founder. 3 #1 albums, Director Blake continued as if Julian had not spoken. 2 sold-out world tours. 17 brand endorsements. A documentary series. And countless content pieces. Roman, the group's leader, nodded thoughtfully. "We're grateful for the opportunities, Director Blake." "You are exhausted," Director Blake interrupted, surprising everyone. "Your creative output is beginning to suffer. The dance director tells me Jake missed steps in 3 consecutive rehearsals yesterday." All eyes turned to Jake, the youngest member, whose perfect performances were legendary. Jake's ears reddened as he stared at the table. "I'll practice more," he mumbled, about to seriously bite his ringed lips. "That is exactly what you will not do," Director Blake said, his tone softening slightly. "Effective immediately, C7 takes a 3-month break from all official activities." The room was clouded with confusion. A break?" James echoed, exchanging startled glances with Vic beside him. 3 months, Roman asked, already calculating the impact on their comeback schedule. "What about the Japanese single?" Silas looked up from his phone for the first time, as it was the only thing on his mind. Director Blake held up a hand for silence. "The decision is final. Your health and the quality of C7's output are paramount for this company. And I know how you care about it." The members exchanged bewildered looks. 5 years since their debut, they had never had more than a week between schedules. "It must be a prank, right?" "Your only assignment," Director Blake continued, "is to engage in activities that promote personal growth. Learn new skills. Expand your artistic perspective." His gaze swept across the 7 stunned faces. "Become more than just idols." With that cryptic directive, he nodded at Manager Kando, who began distributing tablets. "These contain your development plans," Manager Kando explained, his usually harried expression tinged with concern. "They are suggestions only, based on your expressed interests." John scrolled through his tablet, eyebrows rising. "Advanced culinary arts?" "You're always cooking for the members," Manager Kando said with a shrug. "Philosophy seminars?" Vic read from his tablet, unable to hide his interest. "Classical music composition?" Silas murmured, already engrossed in the suggested program. "The company will cover all expenses," Director Blake added. "Consider it an investment in C7's future." As the meeting concluded, and the members gazed at each other in various states of shock, Julian bounced on his toes and burst into dancing with characteristic energy. 3 months of freedom. What will I do first? Chicken noodle soup, chicken noodle soup. Na 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 na. Sleep, eat, and sing for the fans. Jake widened his deer-like sweet brown eyes. I'm going to visit every art gallery in Seoul, Roman determined, his deep voice thoughtful. John draped his arms around their shoulders. I am going to perfect my pajeon recipe. That is your big freedom plan? Cooking? James teased. When was the last time we had time to do that? John countered. A puzzling silence fell over the group, as they realized the truth in his words. For 5 years their lives had been an endless cycle of practice rooms, recording studios, concert venues, and brief moments of sleep on the floor, on the couch, or in various vehicles between schedules. We should celebrate tonight, Roman suggested. Just us. At the dorm. Silas briefly checked his watch. I have studio time booked. Cancel it, Roman said firmly. Director's orders. Personal growth, through relaxation. 5 years earlier. The practice room smelled of sweat and determination. 7 trainees moved in perfect synchronization, as their dance instructor barked counts. 5, 6, 7, 8. James, higher on the turn. Jake, sharper movements. Again. They started the sequence for the 17th time that night. John, the oldest at 22, felt his muscles screaming but pushed through the pain. Beside him, 18-year-old Jake executed each move with precision despite the sweat dripping into his eyes. Better, the instructor called. Take 5 minutes, and then we'll do it again with the recording team. The boys collapsed onto the practice room floor, breathing heavily. I heard the debut lineup is being finalized tomorrow, Julian whispered, passing water bottles around. 7 spots for 20 trainees. Silence fell over the group. After years of training, their futures would be decided in a matter of hours. My girlfriend said she'll wait for me, Vic said quietly. Even if I don't make it. You have a girlfriend? James asked, surprised. High school sweetheart, Vic explained. We barely see each other now with training, but my mother says idols don't have time to date anyway, Silas said pragmatically. Roman nodded in agreement. I broke up with my girlfriend when I became a trainee. It wasn't fair to her. John had never had time to date, between his studies and training. Jake was too young to worry about it. Julian's perpetual happiness led everyone to assume he was too busy spreading sunshine to focus on love. Little did they know that years later, those casual comments about dating would resurface during an unexpectedly free period in their lives. 1 year earlier. The backstage area of Glorious Dome buzzed with frantic energy. Stylists made last-minute adjustments to crown 7C7's stage outfits and makeup, while sound engineers fitted the performers with in-ear monitors. The C7 vocal line was warming up with their usual rigor, lip-thrilling, jaw-relaxing, and humming to rehearse their lines. As always, they were nervous about not missing a line or step or hitting the right note. 2 minutes to stage, a production assistant called. John adjusted his silver jacket, catching Roman's eye in the mirror. They no longer needed words. 5 consecutive world tours had created a shorthand between all 7 members that transcended verbal communication. Their telepathy was scary at times. C7, huddle up. Manager Kando called, anxiety radiating from him like heat. The 7 members formed their pre-show circle, hands stacked in the center. U.S. concert final night, Roman began their ritual. Let's show them why we're C7. Let's show them why our fans are legion. Julian added enthusiastically. Let's not trip over the pyrotechnics this time, Silas deadpanned, pointing at James. That was one time, James protested as the others laughed. As they broke the huddle and moved toward the hydraulic lifts that would raise them onto the stage, John noticed Jake looking at his phone, a wistful expression crossing his face before quickly pocketing it. "Everything okay?" John asked quietly. "Yeah," Jake said with a quick smile that did not reach his eyes. "Just scrolling through fan messages." John did not press, but he had noticed that all the younger members were doing this more lately, stealing glances at social media posts of their non-celebrity friends enjoying everyday lives, going to movies, university festivals, and dating. The roar of 60,000 fans pushed the thought from his mind as the floor beneath them rose. Present day, at around 5 a.m. The dorm living room rarely contained all 7 members at the same time anymore. Their schedules had become increasingly individual, with sub-unit activities and solo projects keeping them scattered across Seoul on any given day. But tonight, they sprawled across couches and floor cushions, surrounded by empty ramen bowls and soju bottles. "I still can't believe we have 3 months off," Julian said, his perpetual energy finally dimmed by exhaustion. "What does that even feel like?" "Like a trap," Silas muttered, though he had finally put his phone away. John opened another bottle of soju, carefully pouring for each member but Vic. "Remember when we fantasized about free time during training? All the things we said we'd do?" "Sleep for a week," Jake recalled with a laugh. "Visit my parents without cameras," James added. "Date," Vic said softly, and a strange silence fell over the room. Roman cleared his throat. "Speaking of which, whatever happened to your high school girlfriend, Vic?" Vic's expression clouded. "She waited 2 years. Then, I realized waiting indefinitely wasn't much of a life." "That's rough," John said sympathetically. "It was the right decision," Vic shrugged, but his typically enigmatic eyes betrayed old pain. "This life isn't compatible with relationships." "My cousin got married last month," James said suddenly. "He's 2 years younger than I. The invitation came with a +1, and I realized I had no one to bring." The admission hung in the air, unexpectedly heavy. "When was the last time we went on a proper date?" Julian asked, looking around the circle. Silence fell over the room, as the members exchanged looks. Silas cleared his throat. "I had coffee with that composer last year." "That was a business meeting," John corrected unabashedly. "Oh." Silas blinked. "Right. I think I last dated someone before debut." Vic offered. "Passing notes in high school isn't dating," Roman laughed. Jake's eyes widened. "Wait, have none of us had a real relationship other than with each other and our puppies? Ever?" The silence hung, heavier this time. "We've been a little busy," Silas deadpanned, gesturing around the dorm. "Learning choreo," added Julian. "Writing lyrics," said Roman. "Filming content," James continued. "Performing concerts," Vic chimed in. "Traveling the world," Jake said. John sat up straight. "We're 7 grown men who don't know how to date." "Is that a problem?" Jake asked. The dorm door opened, and Manager Kando entered, immediately sensing the unusual atmosphere. "Everything okay? You all look like you've seen a ghost." Roman, ever the spokesperson, cleared his throat. "We just realized something about ourselves." "We don't know how to date," blurted Julian. Manager Kando's eyes widened, and then he burst into laughter. When no one joined in, he stopped. "Wait, you're serious?" 7 heads nodded solemnly. "Well, the company's dating ban was lifted last year for members over 25, Manager Kando said slowly, as if explaining to children. "So technically, most of you could date." "It's not about permission," Roman explained. "It's about ability." "We don't know how," John clarified. We've spent every waking moment since adulthood becoming C7. Manager Kando looked genuinely perplexed. So what? You want dating lessons? Maybe we should use this break to learn, suggested Julian, enthusiasm returning. Director Blake said to grow as people, right? I don't think he meant dating, Manager Kando began. It's perfect. James interrupted. We're always singing love songs we haven't experienced. Our performances could be more sincere, Roman reasoned, always thinking of the group's artistic integrity. And we're not getting any younger, John added pragmatically. Manager Kando looked increasingly alarmed. Hold on. We should make a pact, Jake said suddenly, his youthful face serious. By the end of our break, we will go on at least one real date. I don't think. Manager Kando tried again. I'm in, Julian declared, raising his soju glass. The other members raised their glasses individually, even the usually reserved Silas, who muttered something about research for lyrics. To dating, they chorused, clinking glasses while Manager Kando watched in horror. Director Blake is going to kill me, he groaned, pulling out his phone. I need to call PR, immediately. Relax, Roman assured him. We'll be discreet. 7 internationally famous idols, suddenly dating? Discreet? Manager Kando laughed hysterically. There's no such thing. However, the members were no longer listening. Already, they were debating dating app profiles, and whether they should use their real names or pseudonyms. Wait, do normal people take their managers on dates? Jake asked innocently, causing another round of laughter. Outside the dorm window, Seoul's nightscape glittered with possibilities. For the first time in years, C7 faced a future that was not meticulously scheduled in 15-minute increments. It was terrifying, yet also exhilarating. And somewhere across the city, 7 young women were going about their everyday lives, unaware that they were about to become part of C7's most challenging project yet, learning to form romantic connections. The next morning, John woke to the unfamiliar sound of silence. No manager was knocking on doors, no stylists were arriving early to prepare for their schedules, and no vocal trainers were calling them to warm up. He lay still for a moment, savoring the novel experience of waking naturally. The dorm's usual morning chaos was absent, replaced by sporadic sounds of members enjoying their first taste of freedom. The kitchen smelled of brewing coffee. John found Roman already there, glasses perched on his nose, reading something on his tablet. Morning, John yawned, reaching for a mug. Roman looked up with a smile. Slept well? Too well. I forgot what it feels like to get more than 4 hours. Other members drifted in as the morning progressed. Julian returned from an early run, energetic as ever. Silas emerged from his room, looking surprisingly well rested. Vic appeared with a sketchbook, quietly sketching a corner of the living room. James video called his family, his laughter echoing through the dorm. Jake was the last to appear, hair tousled from a solid 12 hours of sleep. So, Julian said when they had all congregated in the living room, are we doing this dating pact? The light-hearted atmosphere of the previous night had given way to thoughtful consideration in the sobering light of day. I'm in if everyone else is, John confirmed. It can't hurt to try, Roman agreed. Research, Silas mumbled, though less convincingly than the night before. I'm tired of only experiencing romance through lyrics and acting, Vic admitted quietly. I want to know what it feels like, Jake said with youthful honesty. Then it's settled, James declared. Operation Date begins now. We need a better name than that, Julian complained. Operation C7's Romance? John suggested. Operation Courtship, offered Roman. Operation Don't Embarrass Yourself Publicly, came Manager Kando's voice from the doorway. 7 heads turned to find their manager looking more frazzled than usual, clutching his tablet like a shield. PR wants a word, he announced grimly. Director Blake heard about your pact. The members exchanged worried glances. Had their freedom ended before it had truly begun? Manager Kando's tablet screen lit up with a video call, revealing Director Blake's impassive face. C7, the director began without greeting. I understand you've developed an interesting interpretation of personal growth activities. Sir, Roman started. Let me finish, Director Blake interrupted. While this was not what I had in mind when suggesting you expand your horizons, I recognize that meaningful personal relationships are part of a balanced life. The members stared in shock. However, Director Blake continued, as public figures, your actions have consequences. Manager Kando will provide guidelines for conducting these social experiments with appropriate discretion. So, we have permission? Julian asked incredulously. It is not about permission to date, Director Blake clarified. It is recognizing your autonomy as adults while expecting professional judgment. His firm demeanor relaxed slightly. The company has spent years creating C7's reputation. Don't jeopardize it for temporary attractions. The video call ended abruptly, leaving 7 stunned idols and 1 resigned manager in the living room. Did that just happen? Jake whispered. Here are the rules, Manager Kando said, distributing printed documents. Memorize them. If you break them, it will end your careers before any scandal can. John skimmed the extensive list, which included everything from no public displays of affection to pre-approved date locations only and no overnight stays without security clearance. This is thorough, John commented diplomatically. Dating as an idol is not just dating, Manager Kando said tiredly. It's a potential PR crisis wrapped in a security nightmare dipped in a fan meltdown. We'll be careful, Roman promised. You'd better be, Manager Kando muttered. Now, who wants to explain how 7 internationally famous idols who can't go to convenience stores without being recognized plan to meet potential dates? The members exchanged blank looks. They had not considered logistics. Dating apps are out of the question, Manager Kando continued. 1 screenshot and dispatch would crash from the traffic. What about people we already know? James suggested. Like who? Manager Kando challenged. Every woman you've interacted with in the past 5 years has been either staff, another idol, or a relative. My cousin has friends, John offered. Great, someone else's relative, Manager Kando sighed. Is this what 5 years of global fame has reduced you to? Friend of cousin setups? We could try meeting people through our new hobbies, Vic suggested quietly. The ones on our development plans. They're pre-approved company activities with vetted participants. Manager Kando's expression shifted from exasperation to consideration. That's not the worst idea. Cooking classes, John nodded enthusiastically. Dance workshops, Jake added. Art studios, Roman smiled slightly. Music collaborations, Silas seemed to be warming up to the concept. Fashion shows, Vic contributed. Sports clubs, Julian bounced excitedly. University lectures, James completed the circle. For the first time, Manager Kando looked less than completely horrified. This might somehow be manageable. Controlled environments. Pre-screened participants. Limited public exposure. So we have your blessing? John asked hopefully. Blessing is a strong word, Manager Kando muttered. Let's call it reluctant facilitation. The members exchanged victorious glances. Their most ambitious project yet had official, if grudging, support. One last thing, Manager Kando added severely. If, and this is a massive if, any of these connections become serious, there's a separate protocol. He patted his tablet, ominously. Background checks. NDAs. The works. Isn't that getting ahead of ourselves? Roman asked reasonably. We're just trying to go on normal dates. Nothing about this is normal, Manager Kando reminded them. You're C7. Act accordingly. As Manager Kando departed with the weary stride of a man contemplating career choices, the 7 members huddled together, as if planning a concert stage design rather than their love lives. Where do we even start? Jake asked, his youth suddenly apparent in the uncertainty of his voice. John clapped a hand on the youngest's shoulder. We start by remembering who we are, outside of C7. If we can remember, Silas added dryly. That's what these 3 months are for, Roman reminded them. Finding ourselves, Vic hoped, so we can find someone else. That's surprisingly poetic, James noted. He should write that down for the next album, Julian joked. Their laughter filled the dorm. 7 young men were on the precipice of something ordinary and extraordinary, the simple, complicated journey of opening their hearts after years of focusing solely on their music dreams.